Hey there, YouTube. Well, we're back again with another project. This is a starter recoil from a 185S, which also works for the 200S. If you guys have some of these parts, even if it's just this outer casing, you know, it doesn't even have any of the guts inside, it's worth a ton of money. I don't know what it is about this particular recoil. You know, when you're talking about like a 110 or the 125 or even the 70, for whatever reason, this 185 and this 200S cover is astronomically priced, which makes zero sense because they literally made a zillion of those 200Ss. But if you have one of these guys sitting around, hold on to it because it is worth a ton of money. Or, you know, sell it and put it on eBay and make a bunch of money for it. That's where I got this one from, as you can see with the tag. And for whatever reason, you almost never find these bikes with the recoil on it. I think they break, they get taken apart in pieces and lost, and you know, that's it. But this particular one, it said it needed to be rebuilt. I mean, it you know, all the dogs seem to be working, which are the little, you know, the little arms that come out when you turn it. Spring seems to be working. I think it just needs pull. It just needs a cord. So, you know, you can pick up these. You know, you can use just about any cord, and they make Honda specific ones for this. I think this was an Amazon special for about $8. I kind of like the black cord, just cause I guess. These handles are okay. They're not hard like the originals, and maybe the originals were hard back in the day and they're just rock hard now from years, but this is kind of flimsy, so when you pull on it, it kind of gives a little bit. But because this does not have the compression release cable and setup for it. That, if you have that particular setup, it's worth a ton of money too. Just that plastic insert with the little guide clip, and you know, the tiny little pieces. You can get the cable, but those little plastic pieces in here, they don't make them anymore. Nobody's making reproductions that I know of, and they're hard as heck to find. So if you've got that little plastic ring in there, and if you've got a complete unit with the cable and all the plastic pieces and stuff for that decompression, it is worth just a ton of money. This, with it in non-operable condition, according to that guy, and the fact that, I mean, it's, you know, this cover's all roached, you know, which you can buy you can buy the sticker again. It was $169 shipped to the house. Every other one that I found was $250 to $300 with this. I can't even imagine what they would cost if it was complete working with the plastic thing in there. I don't even know. $350, $400, I don't know. It's crazy. So, but I needed this for a bike that I picked up a little bit ago for $150, and you know, we're going to be doing a series on that. I'm still not 100% sure if I'm going to rebuild the bike and keep it as a three-wheeler, or build one of my special sit-down or sit-in three-wheeler projects. You may or may not have seen one of them. It's kind of a reproduction spin-off of some of these that they had in the early 70s, by like Alice Chalmers, Scat Cat. There's a couple other names for them. They were sold primarily by JCPenney, Sears, Montgomery Ward, stuff like that. It's kind of what added to the spawn of you know, the interest in three-wheelers, but it kind of looks like a old VW trike, anyway, they're cool, they're fun, they ride real well. The last one I kind of cobbed between one of those old ones and a new 185, or newer 185, because those were made in the early 70s. The 185 was a 1983. This one's an 84. And I'm thinking about making one completely from scratch. So I don't know, we're just going to get the engine running, that kind of thing, you know, make sure the engine's in good shape, and start that process. I at least want to get the three-wheeler running and riding to see if there's anything wrong with the, you know, the wheel bearings and brakes and stuff, because we do use the complete rear end, the complete front end, the engine, you know, parts of the frame, and basically we just kind of cut out the middle of the ATC and graft in our own body to it and make it. But anyway, back to this guy. Seems like it's in pretty good shape. There's a ton of videos out there on rebuilding these guys. I've got a little trick myself. You don't need necessarily a clamp like this. You can do it a couple of different ways. There is a, oh, that's probably hard to see. There is a little notch in this outside ring. What you're supposed to do is actually feed this in, wind the cable on there, and get this tight. You're supposed to, yeah, backwards wind, yeah, get it fed on there, backwards wind it with that little notch, kind of pull the string around, and then set it, and then have it go through, and do it that way. The way I like to do it is, I like to, to me it actually seems easier. You know, you may not think that way, but I like to wind this up, get it tight, put the clamp on there to prevent it from moving, then feed your cable in through, tie it off, and then, you know, let it, you know, slowly let it go. That's the way I personally like to do it. Everybody's got their ways of doing things. But what we're first going to do is pull this guy apart. It is a little crunchy. It's not bad, you know, but since we're going to be in here anyway, we've got to take this. We've got to take this center cap off, which is really simple. There's just a little C-clip right here that needs to be pulled off. Just make sure you keep everything in your mind in order, you know, to the side, so that it all goes back, because there should be a washer on top, and then there should be a washer underneath on the bottom. There's a centerpiece. You know, you've got your dogs with the little wire clip things. Yeah, in order for you to do my particular technique, you have to have this center cover off with the dogs. Which, well, here, get that off of there. It is spring loaded, so watch out. It's not horribly spring loaded, but it is spring loaded. There it goes. That and that. Okay, just for your viewing, so you can see there's these little wires that are here. Just kind of remember how they are. They go kind of in the loop with the loop in this piece here. You can get, the beauty of this thing is, if you can get this outside case, you can get a complete rebuild kit for the inside of this thing, which is great. The problem is getting that's the expensive part, because you can get all the guts. I mean, every bit that goes inside of this thing, including the pull cord, everything, for like somewhere between 60 and 80 bucks. So there's that. Okay. Oh, where is it? Okay. So now what that allows you to do, where your cable goes through, is it goes through here, and then it goes through the side, and then comes inside of here. So what I do, these guys out, get the dogs out. And when you're taking this off, I'm going to actually take this apart and clean it a little bit. I mean, it seems pretty well lubed inside of here, but there's a lot of grit. You can feel the sand, and you can kind of feel the sand as you pull on it. When you take this off, make sure there's no tension on the spring. You know, you don't, if you can kind of feel it bounce back like that, take it off of that tension, because man, you know, you do not want this spring in here. It can be done. I've done it a bunch of times, but it is a royal pain in the butt to get this spring back inside of here. There's a bunch of videos on little tricks on how to do it. And by the way, when I just pulled this off, there is a dead bee that came out of it. That in there. See, these are the things, and a little bit of grit that's in here. You know, there's just a bunch of sand and dirt and stuff like that. I want to get all that off of there. I'm just going to clean this up real quick with a rag and maybe some degreaser. And it does have the original, see, did have the original cable in there. There's a bunch of junk stuck in here. I don't know what that, oh, those old pieces of the rope, I think. But just to clean all this up and you know, go from there. There is a little bit of rust in here. I'm not too worried about that. I mean, I'll maybe clean that up a little bit better. But get this old cable out of there, get a lot of the grease, and like I said, just be careful. You know, if it's really nasty in here, I'll probably just blow this out and leave that alone, because I hate putting that spring in there. It is no fun. So other than that, guys, I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup, and we'll bring you back. Got everything cleaned up, and you know, starting the process of putting her back together. I use white lithium grease, you know, on parts like this that don't need high speed, just for the fact that that lithium grease, for whatever reason, I don't know all the chemical stuff behind it, but it just attracts less dust and stuff to stick to it. I mean, this can looks horrible because I leave the lid off of it, but this literally just sits open in my shop like this all the time because I lost the lid. And it works great. But putting a little bit of lithium grease on the shaft that goes down there, you know, you're going to want to put a little bit where the dogs sit, and you know, on the spring and that kind of stuff. But for now, what I like to do is we're not putting it all the way back together. We're just going to take the spring and a washer and put the C-clip back on. Doesn't even have to go all the way back on. Just kind of seat it a little bit. And what I'm trying to prevent is this wheel from coming back out, because again, once we get this all tightened up, we don't want that spring coming out, because that again is a royal pain. Let's get that C-clip on there. So what I like to do too is I mark where the hole is that goes through. I just put a little Sharpie mark. You can see it, the hole down inside of there, and really kind of double check and make sure you've got your clamp and the right clampy, you know, right amount of pressure. And it's so tough to tell how many times you need to turn this thing, but I get it pretty freaking tight. Get this. And almost to where you're having a hard time moving it. Because the problem is, if you get this too loose, you're going to have to undo everything and redo this process. Where's the work? Watch your fingers. Okay. Okay. All right, now that we've got that fed in there, obviously you got to have a knot on this end here. Kind of hold the cable, release it, and let it go in. This will be about the time you'll figure out if you got too much or not enough tension on that spring. Let's see here. I think we got just right. Because if you didn't have enough, it wouldn't have enough. You can kind of feel how much power the spring still has left on it as it pulls in. Oops, I forgot. Give me a sec here. Okay, so then once you got that so that your cable doesn't go all the way back in. Okay, so that'll hold that, so you can put your handle on. I always like to pull them tight because of the style of rope this is. You don't have to get crazy with it, but it'll kind of help seat it. You know, so hopefully it doesn't slip, you know what I mean? Kind of hardens it up a little bit. Shove that guy down in there. Cap. That on there, so all good now. Hard to do with my hand sometimes. Sticky clamp. There it goes. Okay, so it should have a pretty decent snapback. Now, we got this set in here, and this you got to kind of be gentle with, but we are going to take back out that C-clip. And the spring. It will stay in place. But now, I take just a little bit of grease, and put it down where each one of these dogs is going to go. I've already got a little bit of grease on the shaft that's in there. Just set them in there like so, and your little springies. Remember, the little loop kind of goes with the loop that's in here, and just set those guys. They're bent, you know, set them down in their little holes. Same thing. I have tried using paper clips before. It did work, kinda. You know, these things are easy enough to find, but again, sometimes I am very frugal. All right, we're back. Sorry, I had to answer a phone call from the wife. All right, so got those little wire clip deals in there, and then forgot washer, which these are notched. It's not a complete circle in the center, and neither is the shaft that goes down on there. Pretty self-explanatory. So washer, spring. If you're missing the washer that's down inside there, I've come across several that are missing it. I mean, if you can get a washer and kind of make your own, great. If not, I have done it without it. But you get that in there like so. This here. kind of set these notches over where the dogs are. You are going to need a little bit of pressure. Put washer back on. Go. Got her back in there. All right, everything moves freely. Just feels better, and those dogs are coming out a little faster. But that's it. Now I did take a little wire brush around the inside where the actual cord sits, and just, you know, kind of got in there. You can take a wire wheel to it too. This seemed to take care of enough of the rust. You know, wire wheel, you know, a big enough one, you know, bigger diameter one will fit down in there, and you can kind of go through there. But so it seems to be retracting good. To be honest with you, it could be a hair tighter, because once you put all this stuff back on here, it kind of gets a little bit of drag in it. Worst case, what you can do is pull this out a little bit, because these ropes are not the original length for this. They're probably actually a little bit longer. You know, if you don't feel and you don't want to take this whole thing back apart, you can just take, you know, probably only need about 8-10 inches off of it, redo your you know, your cable, and just give it that extra little bit of tightness, you know. But that's that, guys. So we'll be back with a little bit more, and you know, some more work on this three-wheeler. Just kind of getting some of the parts together here so that we can show you. We can try to do our first fire up. I don't know anything about the engine. I did kind of hand turn it over. It feels like it has a little bit of compression, but we are going to, here in the not too distant future, pull that guy into the garage and start going over it. So thanks for watching, and you know, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and